Okay, boom. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this afternoon. We have a magnificent guest with us, a legend in his own right and a recurring guest, someone who was one of my mentors, a great big brother, and someone just a great man in general, none other than Dr. Henry M. Carter. Assalamu alaikum,
Greetings,
sir.
walaikum salam. Greetings, my dear brother.
Yes, sir. Greetings. Yes, sir. I want to, first of all, I'm very excited. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. Um, Whenever we get started, I want this on the record. This is the brother who drove me to Georgia Gwinnett College that I'll be graduating from this year, inshallah. Um, and stayed on me and just stayed supporting me when it comes to going to college and helping many others, believers and not and people in the community. Just a great humanitarian and great role model. Thank you, Dr. Carter, for taking time out of your busy schedule. Let's get straight into it. We are here today to talk about the film series and saga, The Planet of the Apes. For someone who has never seen it, what would you tell them is the importance of why is it such a great, series?
Well, the Planet of the Apes is a very skillful way of dripping the truth on the people in a way that they can accept the truth without being in the extreme opposition.
Mm.
There's a lot of political messaging in the Planet of the Apes. There's a lot of the teachings that we know from the nation that's inside of the Planet of the Apes. And there's a lot of history of Europeans and history of Black people inside of the Planet of the Apes. And so I think that we are in a time of enlightenment, and I think we're in a time of truth revealing. But as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us, is that when we introduce new knowledge to someone, we can't just give this baby a steak. We have to give the baby food.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes, sir.
Planet of the Apes is a great way of giving people this knowledge in a baby food scenario.
Yes, sir. Wonderful. And thank you, everyone who is watching all around the world and showing love to Dr. Carter all around the world. I wanted to ask you, sir, the latest installment, how does it tie into the other series? And what are your thoughts on the movie?
Well, the Planet of Apes, Josh, it goes way back. For those who are not familiar with the Planet of the Apes universe, I've been a big Planet of the Apes fanatic for many, many years. I'm 57 years old, and I first got bit with the Planet of the Ape bug back when I was 10 years old, right? And so, but I was born in '67, but the first Planet of the Ape came out in '68, and I really didn't pick it up until I was around 10. But
Mm.
the new series is an amalgamation of all of the old series. And if any of your viewers have never seen the original Planet of the Apes series that came out in 1968 all the way to 1971, I really think it would be a treat for them to go back and watch some of those old Planet of the Apes movies, whether you on any of the social media, social platforms that are out there, because you're going to see bits and pieces of the old Planet of the Apes incorporated in this latest installment of the Planet of the Apes. But what I want to do to bring your viewing audience up real quickly is that when the initial Planet of the Apes came out, there was a lot of social change going around with the Black Power movement, a lot of social movement going around with liberalism. There was a lot of social thing going around equality. This is 1968. You remember in '68 we had riots, we had all of these things happening, war happening in '68, and so there were people who were saying, how can we change the narrative around these social issues without offending the extreme right in the country? And so they came out with this movie saying, what if? And that's the question we all have to have on the table right now. What if the apes had evolved? and we became the lesser creature, and they became the more advanced creature. And they did in such a way to kind of get people to kind of feel that it was another planet, but there was a twist in the first installment of the Planet Ape to get people to realize that they didn't go to another planet, but they actually went into our future after an apocalyptic event of a nuclear war had occurred in the United States. But the latest 4 editions of the Planet of Apes changed the narrative, because what they did in the last 4 installments were to make it seem as if there was something called the simian flu.
Yes,
where the apes had become advanced because the scientists created a medicine for Alzheimer's, and this medicine mutated, if you will, and made the apes smarter and made the human beings less cognitive, meaning that we had begun to lose our ability to speak and our ability to critically think. Now, I had to lay that foundation is because it brings us up to this latest edition, which is really 300 years in the future from the last Planet of the Apes movies that came out, right? And so we're not dealing directly with the Caesar creature or character from the last one. We're dealing with people who have adopted the Caesar philosophy of collaborating with human beings. Now, that's important because I'm going to tie it into how it ties into the teachings and how we have to understand what you are seeing in the movie. See, the wide awake man and woman are able to pick up the nuances in the. If you are a student of the teachings, it just hits you right at you. Now, lost found, it'll go right over their head. So let me kind of dive into it, right? The character Noah, which is really after the biblical character Noah in the Bible. And this character Noah is with this tribe, and they used to just kind of functioning out as outlayers in the tribe in the forest. But he encounters a person, orangutan called Raka, Raka.
Yes,
now,
sir. Yes, sir.
I want everybody, all the Muslims out there, to put your hat on, because a Raka is what we do in prayer. So his name is the same thing we do in prayer, but this person, Raka, is the one that keeps the wisdom of Caesar, who was bringing people out of darkness into light, right? He is the character that is reminding the people of their teacher, who was Caesar.
Yes,
this
sir.
Character, he has a ties into Islam by his name being Raka, and we do rakas in our prayer. This is the linchpin. Now, who is this character Raka symbolic of? This character Raka is symbolic of the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, reminding us of his teacher, the most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because Caesar was this Elijah Muhammad figure for his people, a leader. But now that his teacher was gone, Caesar was gone, and the people were fading away from the essence of what Caesar represented, Raka and his people reminded the people of what Caesar represented, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan remind us of his teacher, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now, moving forward in the movie, we see that there's a scene in the movie where Noah, the female, and Nova are cable-toed together, walking across the burning sands.
That's right. That's right.
Now, we know that we walked them across the burning sand. Now, I want you to understand. Come on now. It was an ape-like creature and a Caucasian woman. And we know that when we found them, they were in the caves of North America. And we walked them across the burning sands into light, into knowledge and understanding. Now, Noah represents two things. That ape represents two things. I want people to understand. It represented the beginning of the European advancement, but it also represented a Black African essence of Egypt. And let me take you down the yellow brick road.
Yes, sir.
In the Egyptology, there is an Egyptian god named Thoth, Thoth. Thoth is the god of intellect, the god of wisdom for the Egyptian people. Matter of fact, in the Black fraternities, the fraternity on which I am a member of, the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, one of our symbols is that of an ape or a gorilla. The reason is because Thoth used the ape and the gorilla to symbolize who he was as a god of courage, a god of wisdom, a god of understanding. So the Noah character, one represents the ties to the Egyptology and Thoth, and it represents the beginning of the enlightenment of Europeans coming out of the caves of North America. So that cable-toed piece in there is the tie into their beginning and how we enlighten them into the knowledge of civilization. But going further on into this particular movie of the Planet of the Apes, it teaches us also the nature of Caucasian people. Because if you notice in the movie, the Noah character wanted to find a path to peace, enlightenment, and understanding, but Nova is working with her other cohorts to blow the planet up if they can't have it. We see that with Proximus Caesar, who is not connected to the original Caesar. He just took on the name because some of the people who come in the name of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad took on the name of the honorable Elijah Muhammad. See, Proximus represented those who rose up after the honorable Elijah Muhammad left and claimed his name. I am the leader. I'm the one who the honorable Elijah Muhammad chose. And Proximus says that I am not Caesar, but I'm coming in the name of Caesar. We had one who rose up, who was appointed and anointed by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, the honorable Minister Farrakhan, who made it clear that I am the one that's reminding you of the teacher, like Raka was reminding people of the teacher, right? And so Proximus rose up in the name of the honorable Elijah Muhammad character, but he was pegged as an enemy. But I wanted us to understand Proximus' messaging. He said, if we don't deal wisely with them,
yes, sir,
they will put us back into cages. He was telling this to Noah because he understood the nature of the Caucasians, like we were taught the nature of their beginning.
Yes, sir.
They
yes, sir.
Developed out of war, chaos. And he was saying, I studied them as we were told to study them. And he said, based on studying them, if we don't deal wisely with these people, we don't become unified. This is what he's telling Noah. We must become unified, because if we don't, they're going to put us back in these cages. Noah didn't see it, but Proximus did. And as the movie goes on, we find out that they're hiding just to launch another offensive to put the apes and everybody else under subjugation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And we have to be very careful that if we're not wise enough with everything that's going on in society today, with laws being turned back and the stripping of knowledge with critical race theory and all of these other things that's trying to revise and rewrite history. If we are not wise, then we're going to fall into the same naiveness as Noah fell into, as Proximus was trying to tell him that if you don't continue to study these people, you're going to wake up one day and you're going to find yourself back into chains again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So the whole Planet of the Apes is very interesting, as I shared with you previously, Josh, because I am a studier of primates. And there's only 2% of genetic matter that separates us from gorillas and primates and all of that in regards to intellect. And if we are not careful, because there are Yakubs among us who are doing genetic mutation and genetic research every day to advance the wisdom and knowledge of primates. If we are not very careful, we will find ourselves one day waking up talking ape. People say, this is Dr. Carter, this is science fiction. This can never happen. Look at here, as my grandmama would say, look at here.
Yes, sir.
Apes already know how to talk sign language. This is a scientific fact. They understand the concept of sign language. They have a higher functioning on critical thinking. Who's to say they're not communicating with each other right now? Who's to say that they're not planning against human beings right now? If they can talk sign language with us, they can talk sign language with themselves.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, keep in mind, in our history, because see, they remind us again of our sojourn. Like I said before, they intertwine a lot of Black people journey in America and a lot of the political atmosphere. But let us not forget that during our sojourn in slavery, we talked in code over the slave master's head.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We sung songs that the slave master didn't understand. We spoke language that the slave master didn't understand. And like the books, the spook that sat by the door, we were the spook that sat by the door, and we were gathering intel amongst white folks, and they didn't even know we were gathering intel. And who's to say these primates are not gathering intel right now with us? Now, we would be wise to pay attention to this. But I want to go back, Josh, if I will, to the original series, because there are several series in the original series, because you don't see a lot of us in these latest installations of the Planet of the Apes.
Yes, sir.
You know, it's kind of interesting that they wipe us out of. You notice we are not really in any of these installations in a major role.
Yes, sir.
Right? But if we go back to the Planet of the Apes movies, there's one called Conquest for the Planet of the Apes. There were several of them. It was the Planet of the Apes. It was Beneath the Planet of the Apes. And then Beneath the Planet of the Apes, they took a little bit of it out of the old Planet of the Apes and put it in this one as well. But there was one called The Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. And in 1972, when they came out with The Conquest of the Planet of Apes, there were some Black people in The Conquest of the Planet of Apes. And just to kind of give you all a little bit so you don't get too discombobulated with the whole Planet of the Apes universe, I want y'all to follow me now, because it's going to get a little bit interesting. In the original Planet of the Apes, Charleston Heston is the astronaut. He goes up into space. Something happens. They are thrown on a supersonic loop that propels them into the future. They come back to the planet, come to find out the apes are taking over the planet. Then the second installation is The Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. Because at the end of the first one, two characters from the original one gets on this ship that Charleston Heston was on, and they end up going back into the past. And they're back into the original 1968. Everybody's fascinated with them. And they go around, they're the rave and everything. But people are concerned these apes can talk. But they had a baby, and their baby name was Caesar. And so Caesar is now this character that's becoming the prototype that we see in these installations. But what happens then is Caesar is protected by Ricardo Montalban. And for some of those who may not be familiar with Ricardo Montalban, he is the main character in the old sitcom. I'm having a brain freeze. Fantasy Island, with the little vertically challenged person. I can't use the old term. Vertically challenged. They said the plane, boss, the plane. Well, Ricardo Montalban hides Caesar from everybody else in his circus. Caesar now goes into the future. He's launched into the future. He ends up coming to the conquest of the planet of the apes. That's in the near future, where the apes have been domesticated to work for human beings because all the dogs and cats died from a disease. Well, anyway, I had to tell you all that because that is on the conquest of the planet of apes is when a Black character shows up, and he is going to help Caesar and the rest of the apes get free from the bondage of the white man. And Caesar had appealed to him because Caesar said to him, and it's very pivotal, because Caesar said to them, why won't you help us? These same people that got us in bondage had your people in bondage. We share a common enemy. And so this Black guy helps Caesar free his people from the conquest of the planet of the apes. But in these later installations, there is no Black hero that's helping Caesar them. And so we have to question, did the simian flu just wipe out all Black people? Or are we somewhere hiding and waiting for our opportunity at this planet ourselves? And maybe we need to write our own version of the planet of the apes, showing that the Black man and woman finally have conquered the planet, and we are the ones that's going to rule the planet under this time, because, you know, Noah said it's our time to rule. I don't think it's the ape time to rule. I think it's our time to rule. And keep in mind, though, they are trying to make the apes in this movie a quote and unquote Black character in circumstance, because we are the ones that's fighting for our freedom from under the oppression of white men, but we need to have an authentic Black character. And I think you brought it to my attention that when in this latest installation, when all of the non-speaking humans gathered around the watering hole, you saw one Black person in there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I got to go back and look at that. Because you know we ain't never been caveman and women. We were created from Allah Himself out of sounding mud, and we were erected to rule. But right. The movie has a lot of teachings in it. It has a lot of history in it. It has a lot of messaging in it. And I want us as believers to understand that what's going on in some of these movies, whether it goes back Who Cloned Tyrone or some of these other movies that are coming out, they're actually using what is called the dripping effect. And the dripping effect is where they drop truth and truth and truth on the consciousness and the subconscious of the people before they hit them with the straight out message that the Black man and woman is the original man and woman, and they are the real connectors to God. That is coming out. There's another movie that's dropping truth out that's on Netflix right now called The Book of Clarence.
Mm.
And I want everybody to watch that
Okay. Okay.
because it brings the message of a Black Jesus, and that the image of a white Jesus is a false narrative. And they did it in a comical way, but they dropped so much messaging in the book of Clarence. Now, why am I bringing it up? Because if you connect who cloned Tyrone, when you connect that with the book of Clarence, when you connect that with the kingdom of the planet of the apes, you begin to see that there's a common theme of truth that was suppressed to the ground rising up right now. And the wide awake man and woman can see the truth in this. And we have to understand that all of this connecting of the truth is because the ultimate truth is getting ready to be revealed. Who is the original man and woman? Who is the righteous rulers of this planet? And they're getting the people ready to receive that. And we got to be ready to accept our righteous place as rulers of this planet. So the movie is a phenomenal series, man. I'm just fascinated with it because of the messaging in it. And we have to get it not just for entertainment, but edutainment. It has to be entertainment for us. Drop something on me, Josh. What questions you have?
Yes, sir. First of all, thank you everyone who's watching and showing love all around the world to Dr. Henry M. Carter and the People's Podcast. I want to, first of all, everybody who cares about my opinion about film, you all should, because I've been studying film since I was very young. If you watch this series, it's one of the greatest series of all time. It's literally like go back and watch this series. If you've never seen it, and if you have seen it, rewatch it. Okay, I wanted to ask you about, there was a movie called Congo that came out previously, and it had an ape that was dealing with the silverbacks, and they taught the ape Amy how to do sign language. Mm-hmm. And it was like the American, and I was like, when you was talking about the sign language, I was like, they went to Africa and they taught an ape how to do sign language. And when she did sign language, the ape did sign language. There was a machine that spoke for the ape. When it was doing sign language, the machine spoke. So when you said that, I was like, oh, Congo, boom. Okay, I wanted to ask you the breakdown in the movie of the symbolism of the gorilla versus the orangutan and the monkey. Like who's the smart one? Who's the military? Like, you was breaking that down for me.
Yes, in the primate kingdom, in real life, there is a hierarchy of intellect. The orangutan is the smartest primate. It has the most cognitive ability and critical thinking skills. And that's why you will see throughout all of the Planet of the Apes movies, you will see the orangutan holding a scientist or spiritual leader role. The next intellectually superior primate is the chimpanzee, in which what Noah was. Noah is considered a chimpanzee. Now, there's one called Bona. I wanted to get that. I had it written down so well because I wanted to give people the understanding that King Proximus is a different type of chimpanzee. There's two chimpanzees out there. One is Noah. If you notice that Proximus was a little bit taller than Noah and a little bit stronger.
Yes, sir.
There's among the chimpanzees, there is a chimpanzee that looks like Proximus Caesar. They walk more upright like human beings. They walk just like human beings. So if you were to see them in the forest, you would mistake them for a human being walking upright. They don't lean over like typical primates, like chimpanzees. They walk straight up, and they're about 6 feet tall. They can become 6 feet tall. That's why you saw Proximus Caesar taller than Noah carried. Then there's Noah the chimpanzee that falls in. Now the gorillas are smart. Silverbacks are smart, but they're not as smart as the chimpanzee, and they're not as smart as the orangutan. They are really military. They are brute force. You
Yes,
do not want to meet a silverback in the wild. A silverback is 10 times stronger than a human being. A chimpanzee is 4 times stronger than a human being. Silverback is 10 times stronger than a human being. That's why in the movie you can see the gorilla just throwing people all over like it was paper, because a gorilla can lift 4,000 pounds. To give a person a point of reference, a car weighs 2,000 pounds. Your vehicle weighs 2,000 pounds. That gorilla can lift your car above his head with you sitting in it. That's how strong they are. They can run 35 miles per hour. They can climb trees. And thank God they are vegetarians. Because if they were not vegetarians, human beings would be in trouble. Now, I will say this. Chimpanzees are, for the most part, vegetarian, but they do eat monkeys. A monkey is the lowest thing on the primate level, lemurs and monkeys. And if chimpanzees can't find enough vegetables to eat, they will snatch up a monkey and eat a monkey. Now, gorillas won't eat a monkey, but a chimpanzee, they'll eat a monkey. And that's why in the Planet of the Apes, they had the hierarchy of the orangutan being this spiritual leader. You had the chimpanzees being like a leader, and you had the gorillas being the muscle. And that's just kind of true to nature for what's going on in the primate. But here's the crazy thing about it. They respect each other in the wild in that same hierarchy. They already have a hierarchy. They already have a structure. They already can talk. We have to stop dismissing that which is behind us, because just like the white man dismissed black folks, and we end up having leaps and bounds of growth since 1865. We have had exponential development. These primates, if they keep on doing this genetic splicing and close that gap on that 2% difference between genetic matter, you might one day be sitting at the table talking to a gorilla speaking clear English to you. And that is going to tip the scale of balance, because as I mentioned, they already superior to us physically. Once they understand how to communicate and learn like we are, we might see the Planet of the Apes happen for real.
Yes, sir. Okay, great. And thank you everyone who's showing love. Thank you for every heart. Can't wait to upload this to YouTube. Dr. Carter, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on the People's Podcast as a recurring guest. And hopefully we'll bring you back very soon to discuss some popular culture, something serious. If you want to deal with social issues, whatever. How can people reach out to you, Dr. Carter, to follow you on social media?
They can follow me on Facebook. Just look up Dr. Henry M. Carter. You can do the same on Instagram. And you can most definitely check me out on those platforms. I do a lot of lives on personal and professional development, and I give a lot of political and social comments on Facebook, and I try to increase the intellectual prowess of everyone who engaged me on social media.
Perfect. Yes, sir. And on that positive note, this is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off for the People's Podcast. Love you, Dr. Carter. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Walaikum salam. Peace.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you all for watching.